Bienvenue sur Métal Maniaques, un balado d'horreur Québec où je, sous-signé Christophe G, m'entretiens avec des métalleux tripeux d'horreur. « 13 septembre, épisode 31. Mesdames et messieurs, chers Métal Maniaques, bienvenue à ce nouvel épisode du podcast mettant en vedette nul autre qu'une légende du métal, au niveau global, mondial, un Britannique, Shane Embury. Shane Embury qu'on connaît comme étant bassiste du grand Napalm Death, un band actif depuis le début des années 80. Lui, il est là depuis presque le tout début. C'est le bassiste hirsute qu'on reconnaît, sa charpente assez massive, mais un type absolument sympathique que j'ai eu la chance de rencontrer. En fait, en parenthèse, il a joué dans beaucoup de bands. Napalm Death, il est hyper actif. Donc, il y a vraiment beaucoup de projets en parallèle. Je vais en lister quelques-uns. Brujeria, donc un band qui a fondé avec deux gars de Fear Factory, avec Juan Brujo aussi de Californie, Bill Gould de Fate No More, donc un band, pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas, c'est un band fictif de contrebandiers mexicains masqués. En fait, pour une question de droit, de contrat avec des différentes étiquettes de disques, ils ne disaient pas leur vrai nom. Donc, ils faisaient semblant qu'ils étaient des contrebandiers mexicains. Ils faisaient du death metal satanique en espagnol. Donc, très cool band. Matando Güeros, c'est leur premier album, un classique. Vous irez voir la pochette, c'est assez brutal. C'est une vraie photo de tête coupée. C'est assez perturbant, merci. Sur l'étiquette Roadrunner, premier album très iconique. Il y a eu beaucoup de changements de personnel. Il y a eu des gars de Carcass, il y a eu des gars de Cradle of Filth, il y a eu des gars de plein de bandes dans ce groupe-là. Mais Shane Embury, ça a même une valeur sûre. Il revient souvent. Il fait des tournées avec eux autres quand il a le temps, quand il n'est pas avec Napalm Death ou quand il n'enregistre pas des albums avec Lock Up, un band qu'on retrouve Thomas de At the Gates. Il y a aussi Kevin, voyons, j'ai son nom complet ici écrit, Kevin Sharp de ex Brutal Truth. Il est dans ce groupe-là aussi. Il a fondé aussi le band Venomous Concept avec Kevin également. Tronos, un autre band solo où il y a plein de collaborateurs, dont Snake de Voivod, Dirk de Megadeth et Billy Gould encore. Meat Hook, Seed, Blood from the Soul. Il y a tellement eu de projets, c'est hallucinant. Récemment, il a sorti plusieurs albums d'un projet plus industriel, plus solo, de son cru, Dark Sky Burial, excusez-moi, et il est en train de terminer son autobiographie qui devrait sortir cet automne en 2023. On n'a pas la date encore, donc peut-être que c'est sorti au moment de la publication de cet épisode. Donc, c'est un fan de films d'horreur fini. Un de mes amis, Jason, l'ancien bassiste, en fait, du groupe Top Ring, nous a présenté, moi et Shane, parce qu'on est des fans de films d'horreur. Donc, ça, c'est très cool. J'ai pu m'entretenir avec lui en 2018 au Festival Aimez Montréal. Puis on a vraiment bien connecté. Puis là, on parlait de jouets, on parlait de collection. On est des tripeux aussi de paquets de trucs, de films et de bébelles comme ça. Puis là, il m'a dit, lors d'un de mes voyages au Japon, parce que lui, il est très lié avec le Japon, le groupe s'est produit à maintes reprises. Il a marié une japonaise, donc qui est maintenant qui habite en Angleterre. Ils ont deux enfants. Puis il tripe sur les kaiju, la culture japonaise. Puis il a eu l'opportunité de designer une figurine de la compagnie Gargamel, euh, donc à son effigie. Donc on le voit ici pour la version vidéo. Ils ont remodelé sa tête pour avoir les cheveux frisés et ils ont ajouté le logo ND, en fait, une version réduite du logo derrière. Donc, figurine très rare qui a été produit au début des années 2000, je pense en 2003 à l'époque où ils ont produit ces figurines-là, qui étaient vendues au Japon ou en mail order. Ils vendaient en tournée. Puis, pendant notre première rencontre, il m'a dit, hey, j'en ai des figurines, si tu veux, je pourrais t'en envoyer une. Puis quand l'entrevue s'est terminée, il me dit, est-ce que do you want to keep in touch? Tu veux-tu garder contact? Je suis bien certain. Il dit, il me donne son téléphone, il me dit, rentre ton adresse courriel, puis je vais t'écrire, puis là, comme ça, on va pouvoir communiquer ensemble. Puis, fait que là, depuis 2018, on chattait comme ça. La pandémie est arrivée. Donc, évidemment, tu sais, il n'a pas pu venir au Québec par la suite, mais quand l'opportunité s'est pointée l'an dernier, en 2022, j'ai dit, hey, en passant, la figurine, je ne sais pas si tu as ça encore. Il dit, ah, il faut que je cherche, il faut que je fouille. Je l'ai relancé, puis il est passé à Montréal en 2022, puis il me l'a apporté. Il m'a donné cette figurine-là. Moi, je capotais. Tu sais, ça a une valeur inestimable à mes yeux parce que c'est designé par lui. Il me l'a donné en cadeau. Fait que je pense que j'ai pas été trop tâche quand on s'est rencontrés. Je pense que le courant a passé. Donc, je suis vraiment très heureux de pouvoir vous présenter donc une autre conversation avec le grand Shane Embury, tripeux. Évidemment, pour les gens qui ont l'oreille moins exercée, c'est un Britannique qui mâche un petit peu ses mots, mais soyez attentifs, on comprend quand même assez bien ce qu'il dit. Vraiment sympathique, type ultra prolifique, hyperactif avec une générosité sans borne. Donc, allez écouter la playlist de l'épisode. J'ai inclus un paquet de chansons de tous ces projets, ou de la plupart de ces projets, ceux qui étaient disponibles sur Spotify. Ça vaut la peine d'aller voir l'étendue, la diversité de ses compétences musicales. Donc, sans plus tarder, ma conversation avec Shane Embury de Napalm Death et de 1 million de groupes. I'm so happy to have you in my computer, Shane, right now. It's so cool to be able to chat with you again about the best things in life, you know, music and cinema, horror and metal. They go so well together. So I figured a few years ago, and of course we met in 2018. We got to chat about those wonderful things, thanks to our common friend Jason. But usually, when I do that sort of chat with metalheads, I start by asking them what made them want to be, to work in the music industry at first. What made you pick up an instrument in the beginning?
Well, this does get obviously gets mentioned in the
your
book.
Upcoming book, yes, that's coming out this fall, right?
Which I still find I'm kind of happy about it, but I also find it funny, to have a book. I know it was just a joke about it, but yeah, if you go, I'm from the 70s. I grew up in. Well, I was born in late 60s, but I grew up in the early 70s, and my mum was at work, my dad was at work. I was with my grandmother till the age of 5, 6, or whatever, and probably a little bit later, I guess. But babysitting and all that kind of thing. But I guess the thing was, at the time, we had Top of the Pops. It was called. I'm not even sure if it's on now because I don't actually watch regular TV anymore.
And it was a kind of a variety show with like live acts and stuff.
It would be, it would be every. They probably have the same every country. Like the top 40.
Mm-hmm.
So this is on TV. So you'd watch it, I think, every Thursday. The main theme tune was actually A Whole Lot of Love by Led Zeppelin.
Nice.
Well, even though I wasn't really familiar with Zeppelin, I had this, dead end and to get some other sound. I like the sound of that. Sounds good.
That's pretty heavy.
For the time, for me, it was like, so you would hear that and you would watch the bands like Slade or The Sweet, and then from the States, the Osmonds, with Crazy Horses. That particular track was the one that I'm like, there's some continuity, if that's the word I'm trying to say, between these guitar sounds, and I thought that's interesting. I love the drums, and I think naturally as a boy, because my son does the same thing, beats the hell out of whatever he can get his hands on.
And how old is he? He's like 4 now?
Nearly 5, nearly 5. A few more months he'll be 5, but
okay.
Yeah, he likes to. Like my wife always says, "Why does he like to hit things?" I said, "What can I say?" Probably a boy thing. But I mean, I used to grab my grandmother's buckets and I would line them up and I'd, hit them. So I guess I was drawn to rhythm, I suppose. And it went from there. And I used to joke through what we call primary school over here. I'm going to be in a band, and that was kind of it. And of course, somebody decides to call me now. Get better. Let me just give me 1 second. Let me just turn this off.
No worries. I'm just gonna take a look at your action figures and statues and all. It's so cool to be
But,
able to see inside. That's your studio right now we're in?
it's just the bedroom. This is like the old bedroom. It's kind of my, I'll just pick that up a little bit. Have my Daleks over there.
Uh-huh. Nice. So Doctor Who was big for you when you were growing up?
Yeah, I know, but it's a little dark in here, unfortunately, because there's a long story behind this. This is like the Napalm Death house, but or still is, I guess. But this was Mitch's old room, and before he decided to leave, he kind of decorated it with some dreadful wallpaper. And so I'm making my, because I'm too lazy to do the decorate. I've got too much stuff to push out, so I'm trying to strategically cover up every space I can with posters and whatnot. But yeah, so I forgot where I
No,
was,
no,
but
no worries. So you started, banging on stuff, but
yeah,
the base, where did it came into your life?
really, God, this it could even be haunted. This house is very strange noise.
Oh yeah.
I've been watching been preparing for the new Insidious movie, so I watched all four the other day.
Okay. Oh, you're
Yeah,
like that. Okay, you want to be in the mood prior to watch,
well, I'd watched the first one or possibly first two, and then you veer off because then I decided the Bloomhouse thing. I was like, right, let's have a look at the list. Oh, I need to watch this. I just got in the mood of it, which is pretty good actually because I'm composing a new Dark Sky Berry album.
hmm
Which I decided to do about 3 days ago. So, but it's really kind of atmospheric, and so it kind of influenced that. But anyway, so the bass really was. I think I started playing drums originally. That's where I started because the band I was in, we formed it back in the village I come from. Everybody wanted to be a guitarist, and in the
Mm.
end, I had four guitarists, so I chose drums. Kind of went from there, which I think was a good thing. And then basically, really, when originally I was going to join Napalm in between the side A and side B of Scum, and that
hmm
never happened, which is kind of, I don't know, I regret. That's probably one of my biggest regrets, I suppose. But just young, when we were so young, we were just nervous. I came from a small village, so it was like, even stepping out of the village to Birmingham was a big thing for me. And it's weirder now because I have no problem getting on a plane and flying 6,000 miles. But you could never have asked my 18-year-old self to do that. I would have been petrified.
But you knew the guys already.
Yeah, I knew the guys, became really good friends with them. And so eventually did join them on bass because their bass player Jimmy left. They knew I had some songs already because when I was about to join originally, I showed them the songs that eventually appeared on From Enslavement to Obliteration. So, I thought, oh, yeah, well, okay, I'll have a go at bass. That was kind of really, and back in the day, it's very simple. I say simple, but you didn't venture past the second string really in those days because it was
Mhm.
very fast. And I like to hope and think that over the years I've improved, and so that was that really. And then of
All
course
right.
when you start to progress, you start getting the guitar and
Yeah,
yeah,
because you're playing lots of stuff. You're singing with the different projects, Tronos, and of course your latest project, Dark Sky Burial, which you've been putting out records really at a very heavy pace over the last few years. So it's really inspiring to you to go into those atmospheric tones nowadays.
but I think I think early in the early 90s I wanted to do
Industrial.
well, you say industrial, but I think what it really was is coming from the metal background into the punk. But when I discovered bands like Coil and Current 93, especially their early stuff, is very, very bizarre, you know,
Mhm.
because in the 70s, I really loved Doctor Who and the Hammer horror movies and just kind of tension. I guess I think when you're very young, especially, you soak these things up and you're not even aware of
Mhm.
it. They just come
Exactly.
in. Um, and then of course, the radiophonic workshop, which created the sounds for Doctor Who and stuff like that, and then Forbidden Planet, which I can't remember. They got like, the two guys' names from Belgium. I think they created these weird electronic instruments,
Okay.
which of
For the
course back,
soundtrack.
so I love these bleeps and blops and weirdness, and so I think inevitable. I just got and Coil brought me that way. And then when I found out that Coil were possibly going to be considered to do the original soundtrack for Hellraiser,
Yeah, you told me. It blew my mind because I went to listen to it on the web, and it was so creepy. I guess, it would have been would have given the movie a whole different tones.
and I think then I heard that Coil and Clive Barker were friends.
Hmm.
And then I never did this, but people would always say it's like playing the pink. It's like playing, was it one of the pink Dark Side of the Moon to the Wizard of Oz? I hear
Oh
one
yeah,
of
yeah, I heard that.
but then they say, please, try putting the unreleased themes from Hellraiser to the first movie and turn and watch it. I've never done that yet, but the music, I love the music. So all that kind of thing came in, and I kind of got sidetracked with Napalm for 30 odd years.
Yeah.
And then I just was on tour with Brujeria, and lots of time at night. I said, well, let me get my iPad out, and I started doing small loops. Then I started researching, and then off I go. And yeah, and just create. You can just create little pieces of music to. I think it's therapeutic for me in a
Oh
way.
yeah.
Just now I've been making quite some bizarre stuff in a way, but I just sit there zoning out, and I get a kick out of it. I mean, whoever likes it, likes it. Most people, I don't know. It just is for me very relaxing.
Hmm.
It's kind of
But it is actually, I reviewed the first record for Rue Morgue, and I was really it's really some sort of hypnotizing mood, and it's really it sinks really slowly. It's instrumental, and it's really dark. It could be an awesome soundtrack to a scary movie. Have you ever been interested in trying to do that kind of stuff?
well, I think a lot of people do really want to do that. They gravitate towards it. I think the guy from Radiohead did the Suspiria,
Oh yeah, that's right, the singer,
I believe so.
the remake.
And ultimately, I would love to do that kind of thing. I speak with people. I think it's a very hard. Well, I don't know if it's a hard thing to get into. It's a case of like I get the impression you're in some bar, some place in LA or somewhere, and you just happen to talk to somebody, and or a fan, and that's usually how things tend to kind of
Hmm.
kick into gear, really. And so, but I would like to do that for sure. And watching the Insidious movies this week, and I think Sinister I watched again, and I hadn't really paid much attention for a while. Not I always like my horror movies, but I feel there's a big catching up to do, and I've sort of been really sort of checking out what's coming out there. I've been watching the what's it called on Netflix, the series. Come on,
Uh,
Midnight Mass. I've been
I
watching that,
heard good things about that, but I haven't seen it.
and I kind of by the second episode, I was like, this is reminding me of something, and it's panning out that way, but still really good,
Hmm.
And I do like the fact that that with limited series or whatever you want to call it, you get more chance to expand the story,
Totally.
which I think is a lot better because sometimes movies
Too short for you?
it must be very frustrating to you create something, you have to nail it in like 2 hours. Very
Hmm.
hard, and people's attention spans at movies, I think I could sit there for 3.5 hours, but many people can't, And so yeah, so to me, Dark Sky Barrel is it's become very important to me, really, and
Hmm.
I like the fact I've gone insane on sounds over the past 3 years. My wife, drove her crazy. She's like, "How much have you spent on that again?" I'm like, "Never mind, it's tax deductible. Leave me alone." and then,
That's great.
um,
Do you have
you
any
know,
plan to bring that on the road? Do a show?
I did one show in London, like a small show, but
Okay.
I think I'd like to do some more stuff, and I keep on building the ideas for Dark Sky or variations of it, I suppose, in some
Hmm.
ways. And I think it's been now my son's going to start. I don't know what you call it, proper school, I guess. So I'm going to be able to sort of really immerse myself because I really want to learn a little bit more. Well, I keep on learning basically. And I have a few
Of
friends
course.
who know more than me, and a couple of my good friends. We're going to try and get together and take it more live. Well, for whatever
Hmm.
better word, So that's something I've been wanting to do. And now my kids, well, my son's, because I've been with my son pretty much. He has COVID like everybody, all that kind of thing. Now he's going to be 5 days a week. I can kind of get that done during the day,
Hmm.
which sometimes gets a little frustrating, because you kind of, when you get in these creative moods, it comes at the weirdest time, I suppose. And but yeah, I mean, I'd like to take it live, and of course, it's a thing about me, I suppose, that I've always never seem to calm down, I guess, really.
You have so many. You're so creative because you're like an hyperactive, creator. You're in tons of bands. Just for the people that know you only from Napalm Death, you founded Brujeria back in 1989. You've been in Meat Hoot, Seed, and Blood from the Soul, Lock Up as well. You just did a show in Netherlands.
Yeah,
Was it
in Denmark, yeah,
Denmark?
yeah.
Awesome. Venomous Concept, which I was lucky enough to catch in Montreal years ago. Tronos that I mentioned, Dark Side Bureau, and now you're even writing a book. Is that done, or are you still writing it?
The book is got after someone's calling me again. I bet my wife calling me. So, no, it stopped. We're good. It's like no one calls me all day, and then when I'm busy talking to you, so it goes. My wife's on vacation in Japan at the moment, so
Oh yeah.
time zone is crazy. But the book itself is done. Um, the company itself has I guess a pre-order thing that they do, which I think is just finished. And so yeah, that comes out in October. But now we're talking about there's a few interviews that was happening, and also I'm meant to appear. Well, I will be appearing at this Louder Than Words festival in Manchester.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
live streamed. I think so, right?
it might well be. Yeah, I think
Uh-huh.
so. So that's kind of exciting for me, really, because I like to think I don't talk too much, but I probably do. And so it's a different area to explore.
To reminisce all those memories connected to all those different projects in the same kind of physical media. It's pretty cool.
I think it's again I would I'd like to well, we have a sense of humor or whatever. I always used to joke, oh, we'll save it for the book, and then suddenly it became a reality, and then you start talking about stuff, and then you realize, because as I say, I come from a very small village, which is about an hour away from here, and then at the time growing up, you're like, well, you want to go to the big city.
Hmm.
Then I started realizing that, well, it was it's the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, and then Charles Darwin was born 16 miles away, and all these little things. Then you realize how close you are to Black Sabbath, and Zeppelin, and Priest, and then you suddenly, after 35 years, you go, oh, well, I guess I'm in Napalm Death, and there's reasons for all these things connecting,
Uh-huh.
and then of course later in life you start doing this strange music and or whatever, and you realize, well, it's all part of how you grew up and how it influenced you and then where you're going in life. And
I,
so,
I really can't wait to read it all because I'm sure you have tons of story because you met tons of people, and I'm sure it's going to be inspiring for younger artists because you're an example are at not limiting you at one thing, which is great. Have been a fan of Fate No More since I'm 12. That band opened up my mind so wide because they were exactly that. They were a lot of things at once. They were not only one style, which some bands are good at. It's awesome, but I'm more attracted to people that are the sum of their parts. They are different things like you. So it's awesome. I really excited about that. But that podcast is also about horror. You mentioned a few movies already. What was the very first horror thing? Could be a book, could be a movie. The first thing horrific or scary that just did that for you when you were too young to see it.
well, I think my parents, they work all week, so Friday was their night up at the little club pub, literally 5 minutes away. So the babysitters course, let me stay up later than they should have done.
Nice.
And at that time, it was a Friday night horror movie. It would be probably more like the Hammer horror, the Reptile, or
Mm-hmm.
Any of the Dracula movies, the Frankenstein movies. And I think, of course, at that age, I mean, I was probably, I don't know, I was pretty young. I was like 6 or 7.
7.
So, some of that stuff like the Gorgon, it's pretty scary for you, And what I loved about Hammer horror as you watch them, of course, later, is you realize that they're done on such a budget, filmed back to back. So, and then because you started noticing the same kind of scene,
Oh yeah,
locations. I love that. I love that. The same graveyard, Plague of the Zombies. Plague of the Zombies was probably the one that really scared the crap out of me, I think.
oh yeah. You had nightmares?
That was a scary one. And then I think, then on Saturday, the best time was towards runabout now, where funny enough, on the internet, I found a list of the BBC double horror specials that they used to show every summer. It were the Universal monster movies, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Edgar Allan Poe, Vincent Price ones, all those.
Corman.
Which were like amazing, for me. I loved them. They'd get the odd Duff one maybe, but Zoltan and Dracula would kick in there, and I was like, well, that's okay. But not. I was hoping for something else. So that would build up, and then so they would. I love the themes and all that, but I think Halloween. When I didn't see Halloween until on the TV. I don't know why. I'm not sure why that was. But I remember that scaring the hell out of me.
And the music and the acting and everything was so new at the time.
It was, and the fact that Michael Myers is completely relentless. It's non-stop. And I was like, that's a scary one. And I think. Which I think the guy with the X-Files touched on a lot. The Kolchak Night Stalker series was definitely a great one. Night Stalker, I remember I went to bed and my mom put me in, said good night to me, and knelt close to me, and then went to bite my neck like that, and I was like getting traumatized all night. I was like nightmares. I'm like, good God, Mom, what are you trying to do to me? I'm already scared to death, and it's just like Jesus, that's really got it. But yeah, I've always loved the horror movies. In fact, I've got this little beauty here, which you can probably see.
Oh, nice! That's a Fuji one, yeah. The house by the cemetery, yeah.
Dr. Freud's theme there, and I had to have him for sure. And inevitably through the VHS days, you get into the Italian horror and stuff. But yeah.
So, do you still collect physical media, like special edition reissues of those favorite movies of yours, or?
Occasionally, I think I'm starting to veer back into that again. I took I don't know, definitely abstinence for a while, but lately I went down to see a friend of mine a few weeks back. He's actually helping me with press on the book, and he showed me like a pop-up. It was a vinyl, actually. It was a red vinyl, I think, of Witchfinder General, pop-up Vincent Price. So, of course, I went out. I had to get that.
A pop-up? Oh, wow. That's a great idea.
But I'm starting to, my sort of wife looks at me like, oh, dear.
Because you're a toy collector, statues and stuff, and you're even, what a cool, era we live in, because we can buy toys from our favorite bands, and sometimes you even get a toy after yourself. Can you tell the story to the people that don't know of those Gargamel ones?
Well, one of my good friends, Dennis Haman, who he does sort of he does vinyl figures in Japan. He's been living in Japan forever, actually, but I met him through my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, but and he had some friends at Super 8 and all those guys, or Super 7, whatever it is, and then brains, and but he was telling me, well, we always talked about it, kind of, would you be into doing something, and I thought, well, yeah, sure, I'd like to try if it's possible. And he had a few people in the States who were into it at the time, and created the mold kind of based on one of his kind of designs because it was trying to they're quite expensive to make, you know,
Mhm.
the actual mold. So we kind of kept the body kind of similar, but the head with the
And
hair
the
and
hair. Yeah, exactly.
that was the addition there. And then I think there's 3 or 4 different versions of them that came out eventually. But it was through my friend Dennis that it happened. It was a cool little novel, weird thing to do, you know. And
Definitely, especially for a toy collector like you to be immortalized into vinyl. It's pretty cool.
so that was one of those little things, you know, you never really think about or expect. And yeah, and lo and behold, it happened. So I think that's kind of what I find find interesting for now is after all these years, these things have happened, and I'm quite lucky and fortunate, really. So yeah, you know.
So that is kind of a horror thing as well that connects into your life. But in the horror cinema, there's so many great directors. Do you have favorite directors that you still follow, you know, the career that are still active today, but you need to see the new, you know, Cronenberg movie or
Actually,
people?
I haven't seen the new Cronenberg movie, and I really want to. And I know his son is making some interesting movies.
Definitely, I saw Possessor from Brandon Cronenberg. It's amazing. I think it's still on Netflix. I heard good things about Infinity Pool, his
Yeah,
latest one with Mia Goth, the girls from Pearl. But Cronenberg, Crimes of the Future, I saw it when it came out here in Quebec last year, and it's good old Cronenberg going back into the body horror, you know,
yeah,
rabbit hole with
yeah,
his new muse, Viggo Mortensen, and it's awesome. I loved it. The special effects are great. The commentary is awesome. You know, the question that he asked the audience without even answering any makes you think. You know, he's like that. He asks
yeah.
questions and you extrapolate with your own mind. So it's really, to me, this movie reflection on what it is to be an artist, the overall team,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you should see it as soon as you can. It's awesome.
yeah, yeah. That's one. It's like what I find. Well, more so lately is there is so much that comes out, and you'll see
I
it,
know,
and if you don't make a note of it, you know,
I know.
2 days
We're
later, you know, what was that thing I was and it
we're
come and it kind of and you circle back around to it, but you're like, my God, and then before you know it, it's been out for like 12 months or 18 months, and you're like, how did that happen? How did time go by
bah,
so quickly?
it's
You
never
know,
too late, anyways, to discover a old classic that you haven't seen. So it's so cool to be able to see movies with fresh eyes because I think we're growing up, getting older, we're attracted by our classics, the one that we keep going back always, you know. But to keep an open mind to see different stuff and to
sure.
talk about movies with like-minded people. They ask you, have you seen that movie from 1973? No. Okay, I should see the house with laughing windows. you know that kind of stuff. So I think we're almost out of time. So I usually end the interviews by asking my guests, what would be your top 5 or top 3 of absolute best I don't know island horror movie.
Well, very tough one.
I know.
I think I always for some reason very I always lean towards the Beyond for some reason.
Oh, the
For,
Beyond, Lucio Fulci.
for
It's
some
awesome.
reason, I think just the gore factor,
Yeah,
but the atmosphere. It's
yeah.
just something about some of Lucio Fulci's horror movies. Not just because probably they were kind of overdubbed, I suppose, for here, but there was just something about them. I don't know. There's a
And then my absolute favorite of his. It's I think is his most beautiful and his most subtle, even though there's shocking scenes as well. But he was capable of doing some pretty awful movies. Let's be honest. But that's to me is masterpiece. The soundtrack by Fabio Frizzi is awesome.
Yes, I've been I've been looking at vinyl. Vinyl. There's a new vinyl reissue of that one actually. I think it was either remastered or some
That's
extra.
possible.
I do like the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
Zack Snyder's. Yeah, that was pretty cool. A nice update with the running zombies, and the tension was there. Was good.
oh, I think that, and I mean, it's a really tough one you put on the spot, but I mean, 30 Days of Night, maybe.
Hmm. Were you a fan of the comic first, or?
I didn't know much about the comic, but I just it was to me refreshing in some ways, even though probably if I'd known the comic, it wouldn't have been as refreshing. But the fact that
Mhm.
there was no sort of romanticizing vampires in this one, it was just like full
Yeah,
on, full on, and
scary
the setting, you can just imagine being stranded in a place where it's dark for 30
all the
days.
time. Yeah,
That's it. You're well and truly screwed, pretty much. So, but I mean, it's very hard to pick big three, but
I know.
I mean, I'm saying my family's on vacation at the moment, so I'm enjoying hanging out with my cats, watching some binge watching some movies, which I'm going to get back to this evening probably and carry on. And
What's the plan right now for
well,
tonight?
I've just been making some strange music. Then I'm going to finish up, go back home from here. This is the Napalm Band House, I guess, and then I'm going to finish watching Midnight Mass. I haven't watched the last Halloween yet, so I might check that out and see what's up with that.
So what did you thought of the middle one? Alwyn Kills.
It was okay. I think it was okay. Um,
You're generous.
yeah, I mean, it's they kind of, yeah. I don't know. It's I might veer towards something else now. Now I'm thinking about it. Actually, tonight I might see what else is. What was that one thing you meant? You mentioned something to me just now. What was it? The first. What was it? The Punish. Was it? What was it? Cronenberg,
Cronenberg's?
the Cronenberg one. What
Oh,
was it?
Crimes of the Future.
There was that one or the other one. His son's.
Oh, his son, I saw Possessor. His first one was antiviral, which I thought it was kind of okay, but to me was too much like his father's. It
Yeah.
was like he was trying to do a Cronenberg because he's allowed to movie, uh, but it had some moments. It was beautifully shot, antiviral, but Possessor it was his own beast. It was unlike anything, and it's so creepy, and it works. I saw it really late at night, all by myself, and I was creeped out. And it doesn't happens, often nowadays. Um, if it comes out, I guess it comes out in theater, also in the UK. Talk to Me, that new movie. Have you heard about it?
Oh, I think I went to see Evil Dead Rise a while ago, and that was okay. But I think there was a talk to me. Yeah, that was and that looked
The
pretty
trailer?
freaky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is. It's like under the cover of a kind of a witchy board kind of movie.
yeah,
It's really well made, and the performances are really strong. So it's really believable what happens. With even though it's crazy, but it's really intense, really kind of touching, and the violence, and it's so gnarly, and it's in your face. It's pretty intense. I was amazed because it showed there was a screening in Montreal at the Fantasia Film Festival, which if you can fly here and come for a few weeks in the summer, that's the best genre festival in the world to me. Fantasia, and they got tons of Asian movies, from Thailand, from Korea, Hong Kong, lots of Asian films of all styles, and a lot of horror, sci-fi. It's pretty and those the directors, which are Australians, the Philippines of Talk to Me. That's their first film. It's pretty impressive. So you have to note that on your list. Talk to Me. It's pretty good. Have you seen Barbarian on? I think it's on Disney or something like that.
no, 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 no.
That's one of the newest film that I quite enjoyed. There's
Is it cool?
a Barbarian.
Oh, I
Single.
think I haven't seen it, but again, it's one of those. Yeah, I've come across it, and I go right. Must remember. No, yeah, I'm gonna have to give send me a list. I'm afraid.
Of course, no problem.
I've got a few weeks of you know.
You time.
Yeah, because once the family's back, forget it. It's all done.
Of course,
No,
of course.
it
Oh
could be
man,
great.
that was awesome to chatting again about
Right.
our favorite things. So looking forward to the book, and so we'll keep in touch. And next time you're in Montreal, we're gonna hook up.
For sure, mate. Yeah, you take care, man. Cheers.
Cheers.